All right, so today we are going way deep into unlocking life. You probably already know that it's all about how this book can kind of like guide readers toward its bigger picture, right? So we're talking like chapter order, themes of each section, the whole roadmap of the book.
Right.
We're even going to get into how each part like builds on the last one to really bring home the book's message. And get this. The author grew up in a 55-foot trailer.
Wow.
With 5 siblings.
Oh, wow.
That's going to give you a unique way of looking at things.
Absolutely, yeah.
But first, let's just get a sense of what Unlocking Life is all about, like the basics.
Yeah, so from the excerpts that you sent over, Unlocking Life doesn't seem like your typical self-help book,
Right.
It covers this broad range of topics and sort of mixes personal stories with like research-backed strategies. And it seems like it's designed to be pretty flexible,
Right.
Letting the reader really choose their own path through the chapters, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye too, that choose your own adventure kind of feel.
Yeah.
But before we like map out that journey, I got to know more about the author.
Sure.
Okay, so master's degree in rehabilitation counseling, a decade in the military as a civil engineer, and he worked as a counselor for veterans. That's not your typical self-help background.
Yeah, it's really an interesting mix. And
Right.
when you add in those personal trials he's talked about, like losing friends to suicide, losing a life partner, it's pretty clear that these experiences really shape his perspective on resilience and growth.
Definitely.
He's not just, talking the talk. He's been there.
Right, exactly. So let's get into how that background plays into the way the book is laid out.
Okay.
I notice it's split into sections,
Yeah.
right? Each one tackles a different part of life, but they seem to flow together in a specific way, like on purpose.
Oh, you're totally right.
Yeah.
The structure is really crucial to how the reader experiences the book. It starts with this section called The Road to Resilience. And that really sets the stage for everything that comes after. It basically emphasizes that you need to build that resilience first before you dive into like the heavier stuff,
Right.
like heartbreak or dealing with complicated relationships.
So it's like building the foundation before you can even start on the house itself.
Exactly.
Makes sense. But how does he actually guide readers through that, foundation building?
Well, he uses a few methods. First, he uses his own aha moment, kind of as a starting point.
Okay.
He talks about this realization he had that his self-worth shouldn't depend on what other people think.
Right.
It's a pretty powerful realization that a lot of people can probably relate to.
Totally, yeah. It's like he's saying, hey, I've been there and this is what I learned.
Makes
that
it.
personal touch makes it so much more real than some, distant expert preaching at you.
Yeah, definitely. And from that aha moment, he introduces this concept of self-compassion. And he even weaves in research to show how it's connected to things like less anxiety, more resilience, and even greater empathy.
So he's not just saying be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
It's backed up by actual science, personal experience.
right.
That makes it like way more tangible for the reader.
For sure. And you see how he moves from that self-compassion to those harder topics we mentioned earlier. The whole section on Beyond Heartbreak wouldn't hit the same way if he hadn't already built that foundation of resilience and self-worth,
Right.
It's like they're connected.
All right, I'm starting to see how it all fits together. He's taking us on this very deliberate journey. Each section gets us ready for the next one. But he also mentioned that readers can jump around between chapters, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So how does that work?
Well, that flexibility is important. He wants readers to tailor the experience to what they need. But even with that freedom, there's still a thread that runs through the whole book.
Okay.
It's kind of like one of those choose your own adventure books where all the different paths still lead you to a similar place in the end.
I see.
A deeper understanding of yourself and how to deal with life.
Okay, yeah. I'm definitely hooked now. This is way more complex than just another self-help book.
Right.
But hold on, we've mostly focused on the structure and the emotional themes. What about those sections on like societal issues, financial success, making decisions?
Yeah.
Those seem kind of out of place.
That's where things get really interesting. He doesn't just focus on you as an individual growing. He connects it to the bigger picture, like the world we live in.
So it's not just about personal growth. It's about how you fit into society.
Exactly. He's saying, look, you can work on yourself all you want, But if you don't understand how things like societal structures, your finances, and even your own decision-making habits impact your life, you're missing a big piece of the puzzle.
So it's like weaving together that inner work with like an understanding of the outer world.
Yeah.
That's a pretty unique approach. You don't see that very often.
And notice how he introduces those bigger picture topics later in the book. He lays that groundwork first with self-compassion, resilience, navigating relationships, and then expands outward. It's like he's saying, once you've got these tools, you can tackle bigger challenges with a stronger sense of who you are.
Wow, this deep dive is already making me look at unlocking life in a whole new way. It's less about quick fixes, more about building a framework to handle, well, everything.
Right.
But we've talked a lot about the structure. What about those specific ideas that are like at the core of the book? I'm really intrigued by how he defines true strength.
That's a great point. And his take on that is definitely not your typical cliche definition. He flips the script on that whole tough guy image of strength.
Okay, hold that thought. We'll dig into those specific concepts and how they build on each other in the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned, folks. Things are about to get even more insightful.
So he connects true strength back to that foundation of self-compassion we talked about.
Right.
It's not about like pretending our vulnerabilities aren't there, but about really getting them and accepting them. It's recognizing that we're not invincible and using those, those things we see as weaknesses as chances to grow.
I like that. It's a new way of thinking about it. Because strength is usually shown as this like stoic, tough thing.
Right, exactly.
He's saying it's more about being vulnerable and knowing yourself.
Exactly. He even says that humility is a big part of true strength. It's about knowing we don't have all the answers and being open to learning from other people.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's not about ego or being right all the time. It's about approaching life with a sense of humility. Like we're all still figuring things out.
Exactly. And he puts it really well in this phrase, the ability to overcome hardships with resilience and humility. It's that inner strength, to face challenges head on while staying grounded and connected to like our humanness.
I love that. It really sums up his whole approach, doesn't it? It's not about brute force, but about that quiet resilience. But didn't he also say that strength is a journey, not like a destination?
Yeah, absolutely. It's this constant process of self-improvement, growing, becoming more resilient. We never actually get there with true strength. It's something we work on over time.
I relate to that. Life keeps throwing challenges at us, and it's all about developing the tool to face them and come out stronger. He even talks about how important solitude is in this journey of strength.
He does. He sees solitude not as like a weakness, but almost like a test for strength.
Right.
It's that chance to step away from all the noise, to regroup, reflect, and reconnect with ourselves.
That's such an important reminder. We often think of solitude as a bad thing, but he's flipping that idea and making it essential for personal growth.
Yeah, he's saying it's in those moments of solitude where we really face our demons, but also our better selves.
Right.
It's where we get to understand ourselves on a deeper level.
So it's like he's saying, you can't have truly strong relationships with others unless you have a strong relationship with yourself.
That's a great way to put it. And it's from that base of true strength that he moves smoothly into the next part of the book, beyond heartbreak.
Okay.
It's like he's giving readers the tools of resilience and strength before they even get to dealing with the complexities of heartbreak.
It's smart, right?
Yeah. Each section builds on the one before it. He's not just throwing people into the deep end. He's taking them through each step of the journey.
It's like the book's structure itself is like scaffolding, supporting the reader as they work through these increasingly complex ideas.
Exactly. And remember, he's all for that flexibility of jumping between chapters. But even then, there's this deliberate thread that runs through it all.
Right.
So each section feels like a natural next step.
I'm impressed with how much thought went into creating this journey for the reader. It's so intentional. But I'm curious, we haven't really talked about those chapters on societal issues or financial success. Where do those fit in this whole framework of personal growth and strength?
Those are the sections where he takes the conversation beyond just the individual.
Okay.
He's arguing that personal growth isn't just about you being happy, it's also about contributing to a better world.
Interesting.
He wants readers to use their new strength and understanding to actually make a positive impact on their communities.
So it's taking that inner transformation and like turning it outward.
Exactly.
Not just me, but how can I make a difference?
Exactly. He talks a lot about the importance of community, being kind, leaving the world a little better than we found it.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we're all connected.
I'm so impressed with how much Unlocking Life covers. He doesn't shy away from the difficult topics.
Nope.
Toxic relationships, the darker sides of people, even how hard it is to navigate online interactions. It's all in there.
He covers it all. And he does it in this way that's both honest and compassionate.
Yeah.
He acknowledges that darkness exists, but then he offers ways to navigate it with grace and resilience.
It's like he's saying, life is messy, but here are some tools to help you through it.
He really digs deep. He talks about setting boundaries, recognizing manipulation, knowing when it's time to walk away from toxic situations. He really emphasizes that staying in a harmful relationship can hurt us, and that sometimes walking away is the best way to love yourself.
It's good that he's not sugarcoating things. He's letting people know it's okay to prioritize their own well-being and make tough choices. But it's not all doom and gloom. Right.
Oh, not at all.
He also talks about finding success, managing money, making good decisions.
Exactly. He's offering this roadmap for navigating life's complexities. It's not just surviving, it's thriving.
I'm curious about the part where he talks about what men and women expect in relationships.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Definitely. He gets into some common patterns that can cause friction, but he's careful to say that these are generalizations, not absolutes.
Right.
It's not about stereotyping. It's about recognizing potential areas where people might misunderstand each other.
So he's giving us a way to understand those dynamics, which can be really hard to figure out. What kind of patterns does he talk about?
Well, he suggests that, often men prioritize physical intimacy and doing things together, while women tend to value emotional connection and communication more. But again, it's important to remember these are just general tendencies, not hard and fast rules.
It's not about saying all men are like this or all women are like that.
Right.
It's about understanding that different people, shaped by what society tells them, might have different priorities in relationships.
Exactly. And he explores how those different expectations can lead to miscommunication and conflict if you don't talk about them openly.
Right. So it's like he's giving us a lens to see our own relationship patterns more clearly and those of our partners. What other insights does he offer in that section?
He also dives into how much societal expectations and gender roles affect things. For example, he points out that men might feel pressure to be the provider, while women might feel pressure to be the nurturer. It's about seeing how these societal scripts can really influence how we act and create unspoken expectations in relationships.
It's fascinating how those outside factors play such a big role in our personal dynamics. He's connecting those dots between societal influences and what we experience individually.
He's great at weaving those connections together, and it's not just about pointing out the problems. He offers solutions, too.
I'm all ears. What kind of solutions?
One of his big recommendations is understanding attachment styles.
Okay.
He explains how what happened to us in early childhood can shape how we approach relationships as adults.
That's so interesting. I've always been fascinated by attachment theory. It's amazing how those early bonds can affect us so much later in life.
He suggests that by understanding our own attachment style and our partners, we can handle the ups and downs of relationships better. It's like having a code to understand each other's emotional needs and what might set them off.
That's powerful for building healthier, happier relationships. But understanding is only part of it, right?
Right. He really emphasizes that open and honest communication is crucial. It's about telling your partner what you need in a clear way and really listening to them. Not trying to read their mind, but creating a space where you can both share your thoughts and feelings safely.
He's emphasizing the importance of actual dialogue, not just guessing what the other person is thinking. But that can be tough, especially when things get emotional.
It can be.
Does he have any practical tips on how to get better at communicating?
He does. He talks about active listening, using I statements, and focusing on understanding instead of blaming.
Oh.
It's about shifting the focus from winning an argument to really connecting with your partner.
Those are really helpful tools for having those tough conversations. But he also acknowledges that communication alone can't fix everything, right?
That's true. He encourages couples to get professional help if they're struggling. He sees therapy as a valuable way to overcome challenges and learn better communication patterns.
I like that he makes therapy seem normal and emphasizes getting support. It's not a sign of weakness. It's about wanting to grow, both personally and in the relationship.
Exactly. And while he's all for working through problems, he also knows that not all relationships are meant to last.
Right.
He talks about knowing when a relationship is toxic and being strong enough to walk away.
That can be such a hard choice.
Yeah.
But he's giving people permission to put their own well-being first and make those tough calls.
Yeah, he emphasizes that staying in a toxic relationship can do a lot of damage.
Right.
Sometimes walking away is the bravest and kindest thing you can do for yourself.
This deep dive is making me see that Unlocking Life is so much more than just a self-help book.
It really is.
It's like a guide to navigating everything from our inner world to our relationships, our jobs, even our place in society.
It's full of wisdom and insight, all delivered with compassion and this deep understanding of what it means to be human.
I'm ready to go read the whole book myself after this. But before we wrap up, I have one more question. Given the author's background and the way Unlocking Life is structured, what do you think is the most important advice he gives to readers who are on their own self-discovery journey?
That's a great question. If I had to pick one key takeaway, it would be his emphasis on self-compassion.
Okay.
He argues that when we treat ourselves with kindness and understanding, it sets the stage for resilience, strength, and a more fulfilling life. It's about accepting our flaws, learning from our mistakes, and celebrating our growth along the way.
That's beautifully put. Self-compassion is like the key that unlocks the door to real change and personal transformation. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of unlocking life and how powerful intentional personal growth can be.
It's been a pleasure talking about this book with you.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into unlocking life. We hope you found it as insightful as we did.
Don't forget, you can find more about the author and his Information for Life podcast in the show notes. It's a great resource for anyone who wants to keep exploring these ideas.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep unlocking your potential.
You know, it really has been fascinating going through Unlocking Life like this. And it makes me think that the way the book is structured, it kind of reflects this whole idea of unlocking potential.
How so?
Well, each section builds on the one before it, like you're opening a series of boxes, you know? And each one leads you deeper into understanding yourself and the world.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting information. It's about unlocking new levels of like awareness and insight.
Right. And the author's background, that mix of personal and professional stuff, it adds so much depth.
Absolutely. You can tell he's not just some academic talking about theories. He's been through real challenges and come out with this understanding of what it takes to really thrive.
Exactly. And you can feel that in his writing. He doesn't shy away from being vulnerable, you know. He shares his own struggles, those aha moments. It makes him so relatable.
It does.
And it encourages you to go on your own journey of self-discovery.
Speaking of self-discovery, one thing that stands out about Unlocking Life is how it pushes you to be an active participant in your growth.
Yeah.
He's always reminding us it's not just a book you read passively.
Yeah, it's more than that.
It's like a call to action.
It is. He doesn't just give you the information, he gives you the tools to use it.
Exactly.
It's about taking charge of your own growth, making choices that match your values. He even has exercises and prompts in there to get you thinking.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
It's like having a personal coach guiding you.
I love that interactive element. It makes reading into this active thing, not just absorbing information.
Yeah.
It makes you want to like engage with it and apply it to your own life.
That's exactly it. And that brings up another important takeaway from Unlocking Life. It's not just about growing as an individual, it's about understanding that we're all connected. He talks a lot about using your newfound strength and awareness to make the world a better place.
Right. So it's like once you've unlocked your own potential, what are you going to do with it?
Exactly.
It's about having compassion for others and using what you have to make a positive impact.
And he doesn't just leave it at that, like a vague idea. He gives real examples of how to make a difference in your relationships, your community, even globally.
It's pretty inspiring. He's showing that personal growth isn't just about improving yourself. It's about being a force for good in the world.
Absolutely. And he reminds us that this journey of unlocking life, it never really ends. It's not some destination you reach. It's a process that you embrace throughout your life. It's about constantly changing, learning, and growing your capacity for love, compassion, and understanding.
I love that. It's been such a pleasure diving into unlocking life with you. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. It's a good reminder that knowledge is most powerful when you share it and talk about it.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained valuable insights and a fresh perspective on your own journey of unlocking life.
And don't forget, you can find more about the author and his podcast, Information for Life, in the show notes. It's a great way to keep exploring these ideas.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep unlocking your potential.